where do I want to bring you now? So this is my one of my studio images and so on. So I'm going to kick. Okay, I'm going to play this introduction now, and I better watch out for audio here on this. I don't want the audio to loop back as happened once yesterday. So stay with me until. So I'll be back to you shortly. Just have a listen to this. For those of you who don't know me, and for those of you who want to even know me, suffer through this. Okay. Well, folks, what an entrance. Okay. Always one for a bit of a laugh, as we say. So, this is just a brief introductory video of myself and who I am, where I came from, what I'm going to do. And by way of introduction, I will be using, obviously, a lot of technology. Technology being my background, so I'm going to have a bit of fun and games over the next 12 weeks. So, I'm Professor Mark Cashin, also known to my friends as Mark. And I'm just over 60 years of age, and I have been in the lecturing, should I say, career profession for the last almost 18 years. And prior to that, I would have worked in the industry for 27 odd years directly with large multinational organizations and one or two medium-sized companies. And what brought me across to academia? There was an overlap between my working career and academia when I had been asked to come in and lecture on the AIT's MBA program. So where did it all begin? For me, it started back in my hometown Clonmel in County Tipperary. Went to Waterford RTC, which is now WIT, of course. And that's where I did cost and management accountancy. So I would be not fully qualified, but almost got there. And so for a number of years in my career, I worked as an assistant accountant in the food industry, food processing industry, and in telecommunications and IT. And that's where I pretty much settled down, for having worked with Ericsson and Technoman and Meteor, mobile operator. So in the late 80s did my degree with DCU in information technology management. Up to that point I'd been working primarily in accountancy, and I moved across into software engineering, software development, into testing, hardware design, and then moved into project management, business management in later years in Technoman, and which is now called Technotree. And did my MBA with Oxford Brookes in 2002, and went on did my PhD with Middlesex University, and I got my professorship with Uni Nettuno University in Rome. And what else can I say to you? Primarily, a lot of experience. As I would say, I've been around the block a few times, and signs of it, and would hope to bring a lot of that experience into the classroom, into your respective modules over the next 12, 13, 14 weeks, whatever it takes. I know this is a bit of a challenging time with online, but for years I've been saying this is the way it will be going, and I'm relatively comfortable in this side of the camera at this stage. I'd want to be. And what else can I say to you? A lot of experience. We'll have a bit of fun, I would hope. Political correctness and me, no time for it at all. I curse and swear like a drunken sailor in a whorehouse. Not that I know many drunken sailors, or houses for that matter. And by the way, you will notice now that I do have a bit of a sense of humour, and you absolutely need it in these challenging times, to say the least. So listen, I hope that gives you a brief background as to who I am, and that we can start working now and getting through this. As I said, I'm here to help, and we'll get to the end of this, and hopefully we'll be graduating under normal circumstances in October of this year. Okay, folks, been a pleasure introducing myself. I hope if you have any questions, by all means, contact me on the usual email, or on my email, easiest way. And that's it, folks. Take it easy. Talk to you later. Bye bye. No more flashing lights, is there? No. Okay, that's good. Ah, caught having a sneaky coffee. So that's the as I said, a brief introduction as to who I am and so on and so forth. Um, right, where do we go from here? Oh yeah, I need to bring you to the main lecturing studio. Right, Moodle. Right, let me turn Moodle on. And there we have it. And I go down to the corner so that you can see it. Right. Can you all see that? It's reasonably clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, good, good, good. Anyway, well, let's scroll down through this. We'll cut to the chase. In other words, what in the name of God you have to do to get through this, to get to the end of the semester, laughing rather than crying. Okay, now okay, there are obviously your links, otherwise you wouldn't be in here with me this morning if you didn't have those. This is my Moodle page, so you'll see some stuff is hidden, and as I required, I will open it up as such. I just need to go down to the bottom. Yeah, I'll go into topic down around here. I might introduce. I'll put my. I'll rename this to recorded lectures. Okay. Now, I didn't get this email while you were suffering that introduction. Oh God, I might as well laugh at myself. Everyone else does. While you were suffering that introduction, I was getting an email. Now I assume it was not from yourselves, fortunately, from first year art. Now I didn't know we had an arts degree in AIT. Maybe we do. I don't know. But they were saying that there were some students were confused. They didn't know whether they were live or recorded lectures on their timetables. The bottom line is everything's technically live, okay, and we're not required to record the lectures as such. I do. Why? Um, some people are well, obviously not now, but during lockdown they have part-time jobs as such and can't attend all classes as such. Now, rather than disadvantage people, give everyone every possibility to get the material and get it covered and so on and so forth. Um, for all sorts of reasons. So simply recording it, it's, as I say, it takes me a couple of hours extra to process the videos and so on and so forth. But at least they're there if you want to go back. Plus, other reason is that there's quite a lot of material in Moodle itself, and I won't require you to look at all of it. So I only take certain selections. So if we go back up here, for example, and I bring you into all the material is stored up here in this class presentations and reports. Let's get in here for a quick view. And inside you'll see all these directories and lecture numbers and all that sort of. So generally speaking, I'll be following those lecture numbers. But you'll see dates of stuff here that's going back 2016 and so on. All of this stuff is equally as valid today because creativity doesn't change. It hasn't done since Aristotle and gobshites like that. And so don't worry about the dates on them and say, well, is that 4 years old? Absolutely not. I mean, stress management has been around, for example, since God knows how long. It'll be here long after I'm pushing up the daisies, which won't be too long down the road. So all this stuff is relevant. Ignore the dates. But I won't be using all of the material, okay? And that's why having the stuff recorded, only those particular presentations that I use in the recordings will actually be valid and used to you in for reviewing and going back and picking out information that you might need as well. And sometimes I clearly I give very precise indicators on stuff that is as I would say, a little bit more important than other stuff. And I might say pay particular attention to that, or use this and use that. So at least in the video, you know exactly what I'm referring to and saying, oh, Jesus, sometimes, do you know the way you go off in a little bit of a daydream? and he said, "Oh Jesus, did he say something important there?" And you end up saying, "Mother God, it's gone, done. I missed what he said." And particularly in a live video, at least inside in the classroom, you might be able to, and I'd see if someone didn't pick up on what I was saying, and I'd reiterate it and so on. But anyway, it'll be caught on camera, so to speak. So we'll be picking various bits and pieces of material out of this, or as I say, not all of it. So don't go off printing all of this stuff and creating binders and folders for yourselves and all that. Jesus God, no! Don't be wasting paper. Save a few trees. Do the Greta Thunder ties on it. Whatever you have to do. Save the planet. And all that sort of stuff. So that's the structure. You're now. The module will be primarily built around this whole concept of the business model canvas. Okay. Now, really, all it is just another tool to get you to think about things in relation to business and how you have to consider all the various costs, what your market is, size of market, get more precise information about your market so you can target your customers and then grow your customer base and all that sort of stuff. Who are your key partners, what your competencies are, and so on and so on. So it's not just it's not a simple business work. Business plans, they were all to go, because Enterprise Ireland likes them. And because Enterprise Ireland liked them, they say it made it easy for anyone to get investment from either banks and investors and so on, so you'd have these business plans. Business plans that go on, 20, 30, 40 pages. And to be honest with you, they're pure crap. An awful lot of them are. But what we need to be able to do is present a business case. Why do you want to invest in my company? Or why do you want to invest in my current company to expand and so on? So, and this is probably the main benefit of this module, is that it's not just about entrepreneurship. It's all about entrepreneurship. In every type of organization, whether it's an absolute startup, a small to medium-sized business, or even a multinational. And I said, well, why would you need? Because even in multinationals, they're constantly introducing new products, new services, improving the way they're doing things. And that requires effort. And when I say effort, money, people, time, they're the three fundamentals it needs. So you need to be able to plan how much this is going to cost me, how many people do we need, and how long is it going to take us. And that fundamentally is a business case. And that's why we use the likes of these business model canvases to develop those business cases or business plans, call it what you will. But fundamentally, I often refer to them as a business case. Now, in reality, I've been doing these back in the 80s, for heaven's sake, when I, after graduating from, or finishing up down Waterford RTC, well, they didn't fully qualify accountants down there. You only got to the professional levels, and then you had to go up and do the rest on your own. But in any case, we were doing that stuff, introducing new product lines, and what was it, 1986, I think it was. We were introducing a brand new telephone. Literally a new telephone when I was working with Ericsson's, and I was upstairs. I was an assistant accountant above up there at that time, and I had to plan all of this. Get the costs and source the materials and get some stuff from Sweden, send over to Ireland, then go down and talk to operations management, set up get them to identify the product line, how much they needed, and all that sort of stuff. So it was like a mini project, and so it was an interesting. That's why I chose cost and management accountancy rather than the other stuff. It was more fun. In any case, it's been around a long time. So basically, the business model canvas is like a checklist or a cheat list if you're playing games and so on. And it's just one of many different methodologies that you can use, but it's very popular. Now, here's the interesting thing about the business model canvas. The guy that wrote it, Alexander Osterwalder, he and I have very similar backgrounds in terms of our professions. Um, I've been in telecoms and IT, in as I said, in accountancy in Ericsson when I first joined. Then I moved into software engineering, design, all that sort of stuff, and managing projects inside there and introducing, things like the Y2K bug, and so on. So, but more importantly, we, in the early 90s, working in Germany for a couple of years, a whole group of us from different subsidiaries coming together to develop your mobile phones, your digital phones. We developed the very first um, technologies for mobile phones themselves. And this is after the bricks, when they started to become a little bit more miniaturized and all that sort of stuff. So we were out there in the thick of all of that sort of stuff. So um, you have the two or three hundred people involved in that project back in the early 90s. Not just Ericsson, Nokia were at it as well, Motorola were at it, and one or two others, but Alcatel. But yeah, we were the head cases that introduced the first digital mobile phones, and then the rest is history after that. But that was back in 92, for heaven's sake, and that's Jesus, 30 odd years ago. God almighty. Anyway, yeah, and I'm quite sure most of you, if not all of you, weren't even born then. Oh, jeez, God, I am old. Anyway, so where was I going with this? So we were using all these techniques, and we've had companies have their own ways of doing things. And Osterwalder was in the same space, and eventually I moved on from Ericsson after nearly 18 years with them, and went into working with a company called Technomen at the time. And there's a purpose for all this history lesson. We started developing charging systems and your prepaid phones that you have today, how you put in your numbers. We call those vouchers. We developed those kinds of systems back then. And we were also developing MMS, your picture text and all that, which probably you don't use nowadays anyway, because you have all the other platforms, WhatsApps and so on and so forth, Instagram and TikTok and all that. Anyway, but we were dealing with short messaging and premium short messaging services, and that's where he was involved as well. So roll on into the early 2000s. I went off and did my MBA, then I did a PhD, and he did a PhD in around the same time. And he looked at the way we were doing things in telecommunications, the way we ran projects, how we put a lot of effort up front in trying to identify what we needed to develop new technologies and so on. And he said, I wonder, he thought to himself very cleverly, could we adapt this in a generic format for any type of business? Could the same principles and processes be used? And that's what he wrote his thesis. I have his original thesis there someplace, but that's what he wrote. And he came up with this 9-block diagram, which was just a very clever way of taking stuff that's done in one sector or one business and applying it in a few others, and saying, well, this can actually be fairly generic for any type of business if we just make a few tweaks. And that's how it all took off. And it's become, nearly every business school in some shape or form teaches or introduces students to the business model canvas. It's that popular. But there are other variants of it. Everyone else comes out. They all come out of the woodwork then, the academics, and start reinventing the wheel. I'm saying this and I'm recording it. Oh, Jesus. Anyway, yeah, they start reinventing the wheel and all this sort of stuff, and come up with variations of the same thing, But fundamentally, that's what we're doing, is developing a business case. It's a checklist fundamentally to help you cover all the bases, to make sure that you can come up with a valid proposal. Because for each company, if you're in an existing company, and they often refer to these as intrapreneurs, people within the organization. So it's just people dreaming up bullshit names. What was the other one I heard the other day? A happypreneur. I said, here, Jesus, you're really having a laugh now. And this guy went off in a rant, and he was all upbeat. He's worse than me. He was all upbeat about his happypreneur and how entrepreneurs are happy and all this. They are, after the first 3 or 4 years, when they've gotten out of the dungeons and out of the trenches, and they're making a bit of money. Of course, everyone's happy when they're starting to make a few pounds extra or a few euros extra, as such, pounds, it's still. When they're making a few extra, so they're making a reasonable living and have a slightly better, comfortable lifestyle and so on, because they're earning money, making profits. Of course, you'd be happy. But he thought this was a great idea. A happypreneur, for crying out loud, Jesus. Anyway, that's like, every kid getting a medal in a race, even for coming last, for heaven's sake. Anyway, the first 3 years in a business, or 2 or 3 years, can be extremely critical. Getting to that level of growth and so on and so forth. Anyone can start up a business and get going to a point. It's how you grow the business thereafter, and that's why these things that we're going to introduce you to, and things to watch out for, and the examples we talk about, and from our own experiences and so on and so forth, how we can help you to avoid those types of pitfalls. Whether you're ever even contemplating being an entrepreneur doesn't particularly matter, because for the most of you, you will work in a company of some shape or form, whether it is a product or services company. And at some point in your careers, you will be involved in a project that's setting up something or introducing something or changing something inside your organization. And this will all start flooding back to you. So how do we go about this in a practical sense? Some people might start screaming and say, well, it's all simple project management. Yes, but to be able to run the project, you have to have a starting point, and you have to check and do all the initial planning. And back in the 80s, we found that the majority of projects, 80% of projects, were failing in the planning phase. Okay, and that's fairly indicative, irrespective of whatever industry or you're in. If you don't do the detailed work up front, then you're going to be in trouble. That's fundamentally it. And that's why the likes of this helps in the very early planning phase. That's one of the reasons. So I'll say at some point in your careers this will happen. But now look at it from the company's perspective. If you're in an existing company, or if you're in a small, medium, large, multinational, whatever, all the time they're introducing new products, new phones, new cameras, God knows whatever company you're working for. So all of this has to be thought of. These companies have X amount of cash and access to finance. So simple cake, and they have to divide that cake up to a whole range of competing different initiatives, whether it is improving a quality process and introducing a production line, introducing a whole new process in an existing production line, introducing new features on an existing product. All of these different things are competing for money to be able to advance and implement those features as such. Now I'm looking at my numbers again. I'm down to 5, 3, 6, 7 people. Will you, for heaven's sake, turn on your cameras? Thank you very much. I'm getting some more response. So companies compete for a limited amount of cash in their pool, and that's why you have to have a very thorough business case. So because a board of directors or senior managers are going to ask you, right, Mark, present what do you want the money for? So you get an opportunity, you go in there, you talk, this is what an idea I have, we could make this change, or we need to upgrade this system, or we need to change this process. And they say, right, how much is it going to cost us, and what's the benefit? They only want to know. They want to be able to make a decision as quick as possible. So you've got to have your homework done as a team leader, perhaps, or a team member presenting to these guys to convince them to invest in your team and your idea and so on. This is happening every day inside in organizations. One of the best examples of that would be when he was running, it was Jack Welch when he was running General Electric. They were buying up companies, daily. They were buying companies. General Electric is absolutely huge, and the product ranges that they have is just phenomenal. And one of the reasons why they keep snapping up companies and going out and coming up with great new ideas and so on. One of their employees came in with an idea for a new car air freshener, the smell of a new car, and they said, oh, that's crazy, go away. And he went out and he came back in again, and he said, are you serious? I mean, this will save us money. And in actual fact, we'll get more time out of our rental business, more time out of our cars in the rental business if we use this simple product. And Jack Welch said that's how he used to decide what worked and didn't. If people were passionate enough and could convince them of their passion, their commitment was guaranteed, therefore they funded the project. This guy went off and a simple air freshener he put into the rental cars, and it extended the life of the rental car by up to 6 months, saved them a fortune in fleet replacements and so on and so forth. That was a business case he presented as this simple little cost us half nothing, put it into the cars, bang, let me run the project to go off and get these manufactured, blah, 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 the only formula and blah. And that's how things happen. You see it now. Willie will talk to you about Dragon's Den and so on. For I hardly ever watched the Irish Dragon's Den. Shite anyway, the English one was better, in fairness to them, the other countries I couldn't understand their languages, so it just didn't bother. But yeah, but it's like that. You get an opportunity, make it stick, and so on. That's why normally we would have a pitch. Now I don't know what's happening this semester. We could be back in middle of February, doubt it. We could be back sometime in March. Or it may be decided that we'll continue as is. Technically, you're fortunate that you can literally have these lectures sitting at home, that you're not depending on sciences and the labs and so on and so forth. But in any case, if we do have opportunities, then you'll be making a pitch like that. Now, Willie and I may even decide that maybe we could try and do it online. Technically, there's no reason. It's happening with companies all over the place. This isn't the first. In the 90s, we were having virtual teams scattered across the globe, and we only had telephones. We didn't have video conferencing. Well, we didn't have suitable video conference anyway. So we had virtual teams and presentations and, phones that had loudspeakers and everyone sitting around the phone and so on. So all this stuff is been around and for a long time. And we've been using Skype a long time. I graduated 2 of my PhD students over a Skype call back in 2014 and 2015. So they did their Viva, the most important presentation in their lives, between Ireland and Middlesex in the UK. So everything is due, as I said, there's always, and there's one of my mottos, there's always a solution to every challenge. So coming back anyway, this is I do have talk, don't I? And I'm not going to keep keeping you for 2 hours. I want to be out of here by 1 o'clock. I'm not keeping you till 2 o'clock, being day one. Okay, I'm sure you're not going to disagree with that, or are you? Do you want me to stay here until 2 o'clock? Some people, you don't need to be so emphatic about saying no. Anyway, so that's the business model canvas. So that's the backbone of what we've got to do, and you build your models on using the canvas. And I will be talking you through the key areas to be putting in. Obviously, well, we'll be going through the canvas, but in terms of your assessment work, which I'll come back to now if AIT side would only hurry up. So that's all the stuff that's in the thing. Now I'm skipping in your presentations up here. Vast majority of all that. Your teams have already been defined based on everyone that has registered onto this module. Okay. So that's it. They're written in stone. I know Willie has one prerequisite, that you put your team number in front of your name on your profiles, or somewhere or other. I think it's on your profiles on Zoom. And the reason is he will be using breakout rooms or something like that, and that's how it's easily done to break out the rooms, particularly when you have 60 odd, 70 odd people on a program. So that's already done. It's uploaded into this area, into this. I'll just go and show you. And there it is. That's the document itself. Okay, you can go and have a look and see who are going to be your best friends or worst enemies for the next few weeks as such. Now, there's a reason why we do that. And I know people will be saying, oh, can I work with such and such a person? We worked well together before, and he and she, they're my best friends, and this, that, and the other thing. Sounds nice to be able to do things like that, but in reality, you're getting a lesson in how to adapt to different people and so on. And that's important. Why is it important? Because you're going to join companies, hopefully. I'm quite sure you will. And you're going to be in strange place, may not even know anyone inside the place, might know one or two people from a distance, don't know. But you're going to be in some team, in some department, and you're going to have to survive and get on with those people. And this is one of the ways that I want to use to enable you to do this. And it's part of a bigger picture. And the bigger picture will be down here. You have here in your under the assessment side of it here, I have these thing called Professional Development Part 1 and yay, Part 2. Okay. Part 1 is a walk in the park. I get you to do a series of psychometric tests. I want to see how mentally stable you are or not. Not really. This is for your own benefit. We do things like the whatchamacallit, Myers-Briggs. Hang on a second. Just bear with me. I'll try and catch up on one or two of these messages here. Okay, no problem. What was that? I'm sorry, Nicola. Did you pass them? Pass who? For what? Okay. Okay, Nicola, you can follow up with your question. I'm kind of losing the thread of where you were going. Anyway, coming back to the assessments. So you have the you have the part 1 is due 1st of February. The dates are pretty much finite now. I can be a little bit flexible on some of these, but generally speaking, these are pretty tied down. For your benefit, I know I'm going to be shot for saying this. I'm lenient on late submissions. It just comes up on Moodle, late submission and so on. I don't penalize students, generally speaking, unless you're totally taking the piss, and trying to give me something a day before I'm ready to upload marks, as was the case with one student 3 days ago. Now, there were extreme circumstances, so I'm not going to penalize that student. Luckily, I spotted and got it in literally an hour to spare before the final grades were closed off. So without those exceptions, generally speaking, as I say, I don't apply, but it's in your own best interest to try and get them done, get them out of the way. Simple as that. So that first professional development has a series of tests in there. Your Myers-Briggs type indicator, MBTI, which gives you one of 16 personalities. You'll be on the spectrum of 16 personalities. You'll be one of those personalities. And generally speaking, we talk about whether you're introverted, extroverted. And I can tell you that you will not score 100% on extroversion, nor will you score 100% on introversion. And trust me, if you do, immediately make an appointment to see a psychiatrist. There's something seriously mentally wrong with you if you scored 100% in any of the dimensions. Because it's not physically or mentally possible to do that. So you'll have dominance. So for example, you might be 55% extrovert, 45% introvert, or the other way around. So you'd have those kind of spreads. So all Myers-Briggs does, are you sensing, are you intuitive, are you thinking, and so on. So on each of those different categories, you'll have a dominant characteristic, and that's what you record. Now, interestingly, I'm an introvert, and I would be probably in the region of 57-58% introversion, nearly 6% introverted compared to extroverts. And sometimes I can go a little bit higher in my introversion. And people would say, geez, that's surprising. We would have thought you're an extrovert. Absolutely not. I'm very much an introvert. Um, but we develop techniques. We compensate for these differences. And in my own case, for example, I use humor. I have done since I've been since secondary school. Why that? Why do I go back that far? Because I was one of the smallest in my class. What, 173, 174 centimeters. It's not small now, but back then I was on the smaller side, and I was certainly the youngest in my class at the time. And I didn't turn 16 until the last day of my leaving cert. Yeah, and anyway, that's neither here nor there. To a couple of things I had to do to compensate for that was I use humor and also being able to run fast. It kept me out of spot of bother, and I did take up some karate for self-defense when I couldn't run fast enough. But anyway, the bottom line was that was but I carried it through life. And as time went on, levels of confidence came up, and it's only in the last, I'd say, in the last 10 years maybe that I've become a little bit more confident and in my own self as such. Well, maybe 20 years, yeah, 20 odd years. Out of 60, that's a long way. We come up with coping mechanisms, or in the HR people would call it interventions, to be able to adjust. So they're dynamic. But take, for instance, you could, in your home setting, you could be quite extroverted, outspoken, having a bit of crack and so on. In different social circles, you might be introverted. You might be the one in the kitchen at parties and all this sort of stuff. So it changes with different scenarios or settings and so on. But it's important that you are aware of these things, and that's why we get you to do these tests. So you have the Myers-Briggs, you have leadership style, you have a managerial style test, you have a learning style test, and you have a followership style tests and so on. They're simple. Just find them on the internet. Instructions are in the thing, and all you have to do is just complete them. Make sure you complete all the tests and come up with an answer for each. When I say come up with an answer, a result. I'm not asking you to explain it, go on to it, but you will be drawn in when you come up with a personality type and say, oh, what kind of careers are recommended for, or do these type of personalities follow, and so on and so on. And, who are the celebrities that have these personalities, and blah, 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 history and so on. So you'll be drawn into those kind of interesting aspects of those tests as such. So yeah, take a bit of time out to yourselves and see, who you are, what you are, and so on and so forth, and get a bit of an understanding. The whole point about it is that it gives you a benchmark of who you actually are. Okay, so it's a self-awareness type approach I'm taking with you. And when you know this, then you can take steps to improve, change, modify, and so on, or adapt. And that's all that is. Then part 2 takes what you've done in part 1 and gets you to write essentially what's a reflective report, but a little bit more advanced than the stuff you would have done in the, what was it, the LDHE. Give me a thumbs up if you've all done the LDHE module in first year. Okay, I would assume everyone, yeah. Okay, that's the first question. Second question, what did you think of it? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Some people thumbs up. Oh, you're awfully nice. Do you know that? I can't see. Well, let me have a look at page 2. Yeah, yeah. Everyone's still giving a thumbs up on page 2. Jeez, this is a first. Usually the response from students is shite. They found it horrendous. But anyway, not to worry. I wrote that module in the very first instance. It wasn't LDHE. It was something slightly different, and so on. But it had a purpose. But it went off in a different.
There's no option.
So hello.
Thumbs down.
Say what?
Yeah, I'm just saying the module wasn't great, but there's no option for a thumbs down.
I know if you've all heard that there's no option for a thumbs down. That's a pity. Jeez. But I just had to turn up the speaker. I'm trying to avoid anything looping back through when we talk. Um, yeah, it had a history. I wrote it one summer. I was bored, and I felt that this was important for students to get some kind of real life experiences and so on and so forth. Insofar as we could, didn't go down that route, and I ended up being too busy with other stuff that I didn't lecture on it and so on and so forth. So, and then they rebranded it as LDHE, and it's rolled out across the whole college, and everyone does it. But but at least I know Joe would have introduced you to something to reflective report and so on and so forth. But I'm taking this reflective report to a different level because I'm taking it from a professional level. In other words, how we would use it to help you in your careers, as opposed to just reflecting on, and I think that's where it lost its how to say, it lost its sex appeal in terms of why do we do this. But nevertheless, the fundamentals are still correct insofar as that it gets us to think about things and think about ourselves and think about work, what we've done, how we can improve what we're doing, and all that sort of stuff. And that's what fundamentally. So I'll bring you through some a little bit more advanced stuff on reflectives, the whole section on that, and it fits into this. Second professional development assignment, and that's it, and that's all there is to it. And engage with it, and again, do what I ask. Now, I'm going on record again. I have in the brief said use either Kolb's or Gibbs cycle to explain, and so on and so forth, and yet I get less than 20% of students actually using those models, and they're losing marks. They're losing 20% of 100 marks. I mark everything out of 100, and that's if you use it, you get marks. If you don't choose anything, you get 0. And people are throwing away marks for not putting in that little bit of effort, So it's anyway. It's on record. I'm telling you, day one, what to watch out for when it comes up. So so that's it. That's professional development too. And then of course the last part is your teamwork, the business report itself, and we'll have criteria on that as well, and using the canvas and all that. So I'll be quite explicit as to what we want to do in that area itself. So let me see. Is there anything else on there? That's the assessment stuff. There are the uploads. Don't worry about all that hidden stuff. Don't worry about it. Not your problem. And now that you have your teams, I'll get you all to I assume you'll be probably using WhatsApp. That's what most of the students were using last semester, and I'm sure you were probably doing the same. But most of the teams set up their own WhatsApp groups and so on. Now, I know Willie will have things like forums for discussions and so on. That's different. So you need to be able to communicate with each other and so on. Now, just let me have a look at timetable here. Thursday evening, 4 to 6. We will, even though I have you for today and Thursday, what I might be doing in time is giving you these 2 hours on Wednesday to work on your teams and work in your teams on the actual module on your business propositions. I won't be doing it immediately. So you'll have Willie on Tuesday and me on Thursday, and you will be working yourselves without having a full online lecture as such. That won't be all the time, but there will be a substantial amount. Part of the reason for that is it's far from skiving off, trust me. Because of the mix of teams and class and so on and so forth, you need to get some time that you can spend working on your assignment yourselves. And and given that we're kind of in a little bit of a challenging time at the moment, and with this lockdown and so on and so forth, that you can't meet up in college and have casual chats and so on and so forth, even if you're on different courses, whether it is ab initio level 7 year 3 or whatever it is, law, digital marketing, whatever the programs are. At least this way you have those 2 hours that you're guaranteed you have nothing else on your timetables, so you can get on and get some solid work done. And it doesn't require an awful lot more effort than that. Using the time wisely, you're home and dry. And what we might do, as we did in previous years, is we might use some of that time to consult with us, Willie, and or well, in this case myself, because they're my hours, 2 hours that we're sacrificing in this. Hello, yeah.
I missed the information on the teams. Did you assign us into teams, or do we?
Yes,
assign ourselves?
yeah. It's up there in. It's up there. See this up here? Can you see that on?
Yeah. Yes.
Yep. It's in there already in Moodle. Yeah. The team and the team list. So yeah, we'll use those 2 hours now. When I say consultancies, when you're already up and running, have your ideas and so on, that we could have the occasional chat and touch base on directly on your individual products or services that you're working on. So bounce ideas off and so on and so forth. Something like a mentorship type role we will take on, and yeah, it's worked well before, and I think that kind of split in the hours. Previously, this was delivered on a Tuesday morning. I'd have you from 9 to 11, and then Willie from 11 to 1. I mean, that was crazy. That was absolutely crazy stuff. Having to listen to the same topic type conversation for 4 hours. So we split it this year, and normally I don't have lectures on a Wednesday, and so that's why we have this today. So that's why by taking it and moving it out to Thursday, it spaces out the material and gives you time to learn, while at the same time, for example, Willie introduce you, be bringing case studies in. If I use these 2 hours on the Wednesday for you to work on your projects, and then on Thursday cover material and introduce you to new stuff, and then give some time to general discussions about what might be happening on the project as well. So we'll break it down that way, and rather than having a strict formula. Now, of course, I will be using PowerPoint. I have it here and already set up to use when I need to use it, but to break the old traditional mold of doing things and make it a little bit more interesting for yourselves. Are you all happy with that kind of structure or general broad brush strokes of a structure? Thumbs up or not? Yeah. 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 Overwhelming majority of people are happy with that. Yeah. Thumbs up. Yeah. Perfect. No, we'll as I said, flexibility, the name of the game. So that's fundamentally it, folks, on the what do you call it? And you see this down here, August repeat assessments. I haven't had to use that in the last couple of years, fortunately. So as a man said, put in a bit of work, you get out the door faster. That's as simple as it is. And I will be quite open in saying that I will not be holding you for absolutely 2 hours every time we come on here. We'll cover stuff, we get it done, we get out. It's not a case of having a quality over quantity. Okay. So you, in other words, use your time. Take a leaf out of what I'm saying, or out of my book, and by saying, use your time wisely. You'll get a lot more done, and you'll free yourselves up for other stuff as such. How am I doing time? I said I was getting you out by 1 o'clock. I wasn't holding you for 2 hours today. Being the first introduction for quite a number of you to this person here on this camera. And I need to go back. I'm going to go back now out to my main page and see, does my technology work? Yeah. For the most part, it's doing as it should be. Yeah. I'll take one of my remote cameras. Actually, there's another point for you. Will it work? I don't know if it'll work for you. Your mobile phones are probably one of the best webcams you can actually use, as it happens. But I'll show you some of this configuration, how this all came to be. It's interesting. It wasn't because we had to go online that well, it was one of the contributor reasons. But back in February of last year, I was taking part in an online cycling thing with Zwift and de Kooning Quickstep, and some people might have heard the story already. But I started looking at, well, how could I record this? All it is just a massive game for people who want to cycle and run. Now they've introduced running on it, and so I checked out. I was able to put up my webcam, record myself taking part on this hour-long session with about 1,000 people that were invited into this across the globe, and I thought it was a bit of fun. I said, "This is interesting. Now I wonder, could I use this elsewhere?" And I was starting to look at it from possibly giving some lectures to another entity that I deal with outside of AIT. And make a long story even longer, I started looking at gamers and what gamers are doing, and started to follow a few of these guys. And YouTube is a phenomenal resource for information and stuff. Sure, aren't my lectures going up there onto YouTube? What more do you... Oh, jeez. Anyway, YouTube is a great spot for finding stuff out. And I started to interact with some of these guys that would have, substantial subscribers and followers and all that sort of stuff, because they're good. Dr. Dre and Harris Heller and Nutty Professor and AWOL, all these guys. They're really good. And they're Michael Victor, Scott Victor, Michael Fire, the whole raft of these guys out there. You probably know some of them anyway. And they release information and videos and tips and hints and so on. So I started to engage with these guys and figured out what we were doing. And I had a massive configuration put together by during the summer of this year, and I spent last summer at least. And my God, it became so complex that I had to wind back everything and rebuild a lot of stuff, because there was a lot of technical issues and so on. So now I have it down to just these two scenes. You have that. This is what I call my general introductory scene, and I can move cameras around the place. Just by example, that's what's known as my big zoom. I can go down to my bottom left. I can zoom out again up to here and then back up to big zoom. I can even disappear down to the corner if I want to get out of the scene altogether and just show pure PowerPoint, and then come back in again. All these simple types of things that I can do, and there's a whole lot of other stuff going on, as you saw. And the whole purpose of that was to again get a level of quality and so on and so forth, above and beyond just a pure zoom, and make it. But in the whole process, I learned quite a lot of stuff myself, because I was enjoying it, and that was really practicing what I preach. If you enjoy something, you will learn. It's very hard to learn stuff when you're not interested, for starters. So I became more, and trust me, I was tearing my hair out on occasions. And I haven't the amount of hassle I had with some of the software. So I took what was very complex and I made it extremely simple, and I shared it with some of my colleagues. I said, look, you don't need to go to all that bother. This is a simple solution, and two targets: simplified complexity and do it on a zero to small budget. And that's what I've done. And I'll show you. I'll use. I found some software that connects your mobile phones and Androids or iPhones or whatever to these systems, and I'll show it to you at some stage and see. Then, and it's and it looks more complicated than it actually is. And, I'm using a tablet here to control everything I'm using on the screen, for example, and someone wonders, no, I lost it. Here we are, back again. Anyway, I'll show you all that fun and game sort of stuff, and even there are even business ideas in doing what I've done. If I had the time to do it, if could release videos and set up courses and all that. Everyone's doing it. Udemy, Coursera, Alice, I think Alison is another one of them. There are a whole raft of these online courses. And everyone that knows how to turn on a computer now has a course almost, you know. So, you know, if you find the right combination, you can actually make money out of it. I'm not, but I don't have time. I'm too old anyway. So, anyway, they're the rantings of me over and done with for today. Do you have any questions?
What's our project going to be based on, Mark?
Good question. Your team, and this is the Mission Impossible brief, your team, should you choose to accept it, will come up with an idea of a product or a service and develop it out. You know, that's your product service, and that's your product or service that you want to offer, and build up your business case for offering that. It could be something completely new. It could be something that already exists and you found a better way of doing it. And let's be honest, look at all your mobile phones. Why isn't there just one mobile phone? Because each one has something slightly different. You know, some people, I mean, and we have diehard Android users, we have diehard iPhone users. Personally, I'm Android. But anyway, why is one better than the other? Then you go into the Android phones themselves, and you have you have Huawei, you have Samsung, and blah blah, a whole range of other phones. And 20 years ago, you had Ericsson, Motorola, and Nokia. So they all had different features. So even though they were basically the same technology, they were offering add-ons, different features, and so on and so forth. And people say, "Oh yeah, I like that one," or "I like the camera in that one," or "I like blah blah blah." And so on. So that's what you have to come up with. So it could be an existing product or service, but you found a way to either manufacture it more cost effectively, or add a couple of tweaks to it and compete against an existing product. That's essentially what you have to do. So you will have to as I say, knock heads together within your team to come up with 2 ideas. Okay, and then. Once you've come up with the 2 ideas, we'll do as we did previously, and we'll do it online as well. The team leader will just give a quick presentation. This is our idea. This is where we think the market is, and we want to run with one of these 2 ideas. And the class will vote on which idea is the preferred idea. And when the class decides what your team is running with, then that's what you run with. Okay, it's and oftentimes people say, well, geez, we would have preferred option 1 as the team, but the class went for option 2. That's sending you out a very, very clear message that they're more interested in option number 2, and you might have missed something. And oftentimes students go back and say, well, why did you pick option 2? You know, we had a preference for option 1. And so on, and they say, well, it has this, that, and everything. I say, oh, geez, I didn't think of that, and so on. So precisely the exercise, and that's valuable in itself. When you have to be able to evaluate feedback from customers, you have to be able to listen to what they're saying. And you know, oftentimes entrepreneurs fall into a trap of they fall in love with their own products or ideas, and that can be extremely costly. One of the examples I use, I don't know if you've ever seen newborn babies, but let's be honest, some of them are, oh Jesus, you know, can you hand it back kind of thing, you know, they're, and some of them are kind of cute. But regardless, to whomever the parents are, whatever the baby looks like to other persons, they actually love that baby. They think it's the most gorgeous thing on the planet. And rightly so. But others might not see it that way. Time changes, of course. But it's same principle applies with business ideas. Almost the same idea, to the same level. People fall in love with their own ideas and become very blinkered. And they ignore feedback. And it can cost them their business, can cost them a lot of money because of failure and so on. So it's extremely important to listen to other people. Now, I don't have it at hand, but there's one fantastic diagram that I'd seen years and years ago. And it literally was 2 men looking down on the ground. And this guy was looking at a 6. This guy was looking at a 9 written on the ground, right? and the two of them arguing. It's a 6, it's a 9, it's a 6, it's a 9, and then they swap. And you might say, ah, geez, Mark, that's very simplistic. But it's such a powerful message to say that, now I see what you're saying. It is a 9. Yeah, I see what you're saying now. It is a 6, and so on and so forth. You know, so yeah, I can see where I got the idea that it was a 9 from where I was looking from. But when I came over to this, and it's so bloody powerful to explain issues around communication and understanding. And you can have all the theories in the world trying to explain this, that, and the other thing, and complicating things. It is really that simple. Being able to see things from other people's perspectives. That's why, you know, in some of these tests, you know, you might be, look, I think one of them is emotional intelligence, and I'll be talking about that in leadership under that area, you know, the you know, what are the characteristics. And I don't mean, you know, a national leader, a Trump. Oh, jeez. No, I don't. It could be your local football club. It could be your local cycle group. There's a leader in there. There are natural leaders and there are appointed leaders and so on. You could be in a small community, you know, as the chair of the residents association, or you could be the CEO of a large organization or head of a department or whatever. These are all just roles, but your role as a leader within those are, you know, a manager and leader. Often people get confused and say they're one and the same thing. They're not. Yeah, every leader is a manager, but not every manager is a leader. And you will have that, should we say, awakening when you start to work. You know, and I'll be going through that with you in due course. So. So that's it. Yeah, that's the assignment. You know, to come up with an idea, and we'll try and stick to that process of selecting something that's viable and so on. So, but before we do that, you know, on Thursday we will go through some of the key parts of the business model canvas that will help you get off the ground in the way you're thinking of stuff.
Thanks, Mark. Cheers.
Okay. Rachel, you might come back to me. I'm not quite following your comment there. Yeah. Anyone else? Any other questions or comments? And I need to get my glasses on here to see. Just bear with me here. Can't find it when I need it.
Are you going to run us through the business plan as well, how to set it up, or is that something that like is going to be like done later on?
Excuse me. Generally speaking, yeah. There is a fairly comprehensive template in there, but we'll be talking through it, how you're going to map the your information that you've garnered on the business model. When you've gotten that, how you can what do we say, map that across into a kind of a structured report or business plan as such. Yeah. I will bring you through it all. Don't worry. No worries. No worries. Yeah, is it Richard Birmingham? I think it is. This doesn't allow me to. Yeah. Anyway, I can't get back to that. Anyway, yeah, that's it, folks. I don't have anything else to say or do, or well, not today anyway. Just let me get to where I need to go here, and yeah, I'll let you go. and I'll play my outro. Now, I will process all this video afterwards, and well, I'm not going to be deleting any stuff. There's not a lot to delete. I'm going to leave in all the swear words and all the promises that I made inside there. But it just needs to be modified, cleaned up a little bit, and double check that everything is working correctly. All right, folks. On that note, I'll let you go. I'll see you on Thursday, and we'll just go through a quick introduction of Business Model Canvas and out the door then. Alrighty, folks. Take it easy. See you then.
Thank you.
Thank you.